Hey, what's up, guys? It is Card Shuffler 99 here, and today we are going to be breaking down David Blaine's performance on the Jimmy Fallon show that he performed a couple nights ago. He did basically a needle through the mouth trick, combined in sort of a card trick, and then he also regurgitated a frog, something that he does a lot of times in his tricks and routines now, where he brings regurgitation in. We actually did do a couple videos on his regurgitation methods, so if you guys want some greater detail into the details, about that specific trick, you can definitely go check out those videos as well. We'll try to link them down below. But today we're just going to briefly talk about that trick because the main event of that specific performance was the needle through the mouth and the card trick in that. So we're just going to talk about that. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. We're doing the 100,000 subscribers giveaway. So once again, thank you guys for subscribing. The plan is to give around 100 decks, something like that, or something around that value. We're going to end this at the end of April, so you guys do have a little bit of time left to enter. Don't forget, all you have to do to enter is just like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you comment something down in the comment section, something you like about the channel, anything like that. But thank you guys so much for subscribing, and anyway, let's get straight into the reveal. So, we're going to start out by breaking this trick down. So we're going to start, he did do a card trick. So if you don't know what this trick essentially is, what he did, and we will link the performance down in the description section, so if you guys want to go check it out if you haven't seen the performance already. Now, what we're going to talk about here is the needle through the mouth and the card trick there. So what this essentially is a version of the trick regeneration, okay? And what that is essentially basically a torn and restored card trick, okay? Now, the traditional way to do this, it doesn't involve a needle. It doesn't involve, sewing your mouth together or anything like that. I think that was just sort of his way of changing the trick up and making it his own, I guess you could say. But the traditional way is to basically tear the card off, or tear the corner off of a card, put it in your mouth, pretend to, or basically swallow that little corner, and then you take the card, you put it in your mouth, and then you basically drag it out, and then the corner gets restored. Okay, now that's the original trick. Okay, and that's like the sort of the staple trick, right? He does a version of this. It's not exactly the same thing, but what he does is basically just a teleporting corner trick. Okay, so he's not actually doing a regeneration. He's not going to actually restore the card, but what he will do is make the actual piece sort of, or the card, disappear and reappear inside of his mouth. So let's get into how this is done. So what he's going to do, and the first disclaimer that I do want to bring out, is the fact that he actually does stick the needle through his mouth. Now, a lot of people might think, why does he do this? How does he do it? That seems crazy. Who's just going to put a needle through their mouth? Now, I will say it's really not that big of a deal. People get piercings, on their lips, on their mouth, in their ears all the time, and it goes literally through, their mouth basically. So it's nothing that, is abnormal to people, so long as you can handle the pain of a piercing, basically, you can handle the pain of just sticking a needle up your, into your mouth, basically. Now, he is actually doing this, so that's not the trick, okay? It's not like he's just saying, hey, check it out, I can, shove this needle up my mouth. That's not what he's doing, okay? What he's actually doing is a card trick at the same time. So what he's going to do is he's going to take out the thread, okay? You notice that the thread is on this little container, and he's going to wrap it out, and he's going to tear it with his mouth. Now, what he's doing here, as he tears it with his mouth, what he's actually going to start by doing is he's going to take the card, okay? So he's going to have a pre-folded up card that was already torn out, okay? So it already has a corner torn out of it. And this is going to be a duplicated torn corner card. Now, what I mean by this is he's going to have two of the same card, okay? Now, what he does is he's going to take one of the cards, okay, or basically both of the cards, and he's going to tear it in the same way, okay? So it's going to be the same corner. That way, they actually do match. A couple ways you can do this. You could use scissors if you really wanted to, but you could just tear both the cards and make the exact same tear. So they're basically identical. Now, the faces and the value of the card has to be the same as well, so just keep that in mind. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to take the one that he already pre-torn, and he's going to take that, and he's going to basically fold it up. Okay, he's going to fold that up, and he's going to put it inside of his mouth. Now, when does he put this card inside of his mouth, you may ask? The answer to that is when he's actually biting the thread and, biting the thread off, okay? You'll notice here, he's going to put this in his mouth, and when he does that, what happens is you notice that he doesn't ever open his mouth after that. He smiles, but after he bites it off, he refuses to open his mouth. He won't even, like, the trick didn't even start at the time. But he's not going to open his mouth because obviously he already has the card inside of his mouth. So he's going to refuse to open it. So what that means is that he actually does slip the card, and that's the best time to slip the card into his mouth before he starts sewing up his mouth, okay, basically. So now that that is inside, okay, all he has to do is he's going to do a card force. Now, if you don't know what a card force is, it's essentially where you're going to take the spectator and basically do a force in the way and just make them pick a card. Now, the way he's going to do this card force, you could do any card force. I'll teach you guys some card forces actually right now. But the card force he does is the classic force. Now, what that is, it's basically where you're going to take the deck and you're going to do a constant spread. So you're going to keep spreading, and you're going to tell them to just take a card out. Now, what's happening here is he has a break over the card he wants. Okay, now what he's going to do here is he's going to take it, and what happens is as the spectator reaches in, okay, so to bring their hand in, he just pushes the card out, so that's the first card they're going to grab, and he's going to keep spreading and spreading and spreading, so this is the card they're going to grab. Now, that is the classic force. If you practice this force, it definitely becomes like a good tool, okay? It's something that you could utilize all the time. It's one of the most effective forces because it looks clean. You're not actually doing anything, right? All it looks like is you're just spreading through and they're just taking a card. But obviously when they reach out, most people, they're just going to grab the first card. Now, this is a risky force, obviously, because, you know, you don't know if they're actually going to, you know, if you have one of those hecklers out there who just says, I'm just going to take the bottom card, or I'm going to, you know, go for one of these cards at the bottom, or the kind of person who just, like, touches a card and then they switch it. If you have that kind of person, then you're looking at problems. But this is a TV show, so you don't really know. And obviously, the spectator's not trying to ruin the trick for him. So she just picks a card, right? Now, some other ways you guys can force cards. One of the most popular ways, if you take a card that's on the top of the deck, what you do is you basically do a little count just like this, and then you're going to spread on top of this count and have them touch a card. So let's say they touch this card here. Once you push this in, you just force the top card. Now, how does this work? What happens here is as I count these cards, I'm spreading on top of the 3 cards here. So no matter which card they stop on, let's say it was this card here, the 5, it's going to actually go underneath the top card that was originally on the deck. So that's just a simple card force, something quick that you guys could do. Okay. Now what he's going to do from here, he's actually going to sew his mouth together. Kind of creepy, I get that. But from here, he's going to force the card, so he forces the card, and he's going to tear the card in the same exact fashion that he tore the other one. Now, you notice here, in regeneration, for example, the original trick, what happens is the card tears almost perfectly. And you'll notice that David Blaine is going to use a very similar gimmick to regeneration, because you notice when Jimmy Fallon is, you know, instructed to basically tear the corner off, all he does is literally lift it up a little bit or pull it a little bit, and the whole card just basically comes apart, right? And it comes apart near perfectly. So that's why it's very similar to regeneration, because, you know, if the card was torn, you know, semi-torn, he would actually have to tear it off, right? It's not just going to pull off by itself. So that's just something you guys have to note there, that, you know, could be a gimmick, and that's how he's going to get it to be the same exact version or the same exact looking corner, okay? So the actual card's different. Now, there's a couple ways you can make this card disappear, right? What he does is he has the spectator basically just put it somewhere in the deck. One of the most popular ways of making a card disappear, and I will say, is double-sided tape. So if you don't know what double-sided tape is, it's essentially tape that's double-sided right here, right? And when you put this on a card, what happens is once you put it into the deck, it's going to stick to the other cards. So when you spread it out or whatever, nobody can actually see the card anymore because it's now invisible. It's just basically stuck to another card. So that's one really cool way at making it disappear. Now, after that, he's going to take the cards out, right? They're holding the corner, and then he has the opposite card come out of his mouth. So that is that part of the trick. Now, he does do the frog regurgitation. If you don't know what that is, regurgitation is a really popular thing in David Blaine's routines nowadays. What he did was he basically learned, and what regurgitation is, it dates back, you know, far, far into the past. And basically what it is the control of the stomach muscles, right? What happens is they're actually able to swallow it without the actual object getting into their stomach muscle. So what they can do from there is actually regurgitate back up. Now, obviously, this does take a lot of skill and a lot of practice, but what David Blaine was actually able to do was practice this so well to the point where he was able to control his stomach muscle and make sure that he could get whatever object he wants to come out. So he does this a lot. It actually is regurgitation. It's not like it's a trick or anything like that. He actually does have a frog stored in him, and that he literally regurgitates it out. If you guys want more details, we do have the other David Blaine tutorials where we actually talked for a while about this topic. But anyway, guys, that is the reveal. That is the breakdown. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. And this card shuffler 99. Peace out, guys.